What's up, everybody? I'm Charla. Welcome to my studio. As I film this, we are less than a week having self-quarantined or isolated ourselves. I was just thinking about how by the time this video is ready and uploaded, a couple of days or a week from now, everything could be different. These are very interesting times to contemplate life and day-to-day and your plans and how you're going to move forward and with your family and with your work and with all the things you normally love to spend time doing. It's kind of hard to talk about inspiring things and art and process and how-tos and all the rest of it when I don't even know what headspace we're all going to be in a few days. I don't really mean to think that it's all like doom and gloom or anything like that. It's just that the world's going to be a different place when we come out on the other end of this. And at this point, we don't know if it's going to be 1 week or 3 months, or I've seen reports saying 18 months. Who knows what this is all going to entail. Hopefully, it's just going to be a couple of weeks and we'll just start to recover and get back to normal life. We just don't know yet. I think that this is an incredible opportunity for us to be creative and be with our families, think about the future, and let's think color, life, let's think about our global community. And so let's get to work, because I want this to be more about a reprieve for you than a place to go and think about all the worst case scenarios. So let me tell you a little bit about the painting that I'm going to show you today. This is of a lady that I met when I was in Kenya in 2019 in a little tiny isolated village called Pokot. My favorite faces to paint most of the time are those faces that have already witnessed a lifetime of experiences. I love how elderly faces have crevices and wrinkles and lines and character. I believe they're so unique and so filled with character that often a face of a 21-year-old just doesn't have. I think most of us strive to keep that 21-year-old face. I remember when this wonderful lady that really, she wasn't my blood family, but I felt like she was my family. She passed away a few years ago, and we went over to visit her family afterwards, and they had used a photo of her that I had taken a really long time ago, like almost 20 years ago. But she was still an old lady in that photo with wrinkles and gray hair, and she was so beautiful, and her smile was so genuine and contagious. She was just such a sweet, sweet woman. But what struck me when I walked into the house and they showed me that they had chosen this photo that I had taken, and I thought that was pretty special. But what really struck me was how much I realized that when I die, I didn't really want a photo of me when I'm 80. I'm not even 80 yet. I had not really contemplated this thought until that very moment. So it will probably sound really vain and really lame, but bear with me. When I saw this picture of her that I had taken almost 20 years before she had passed away, she was still an elderly woman with gray hair and wrinkles. And we all thought she looked so beautiful, and she, brought tears to our eyes to see that photo of her and know that she was no longer with us. But it made me smile with my own kind of vanity, I guess is really the only thing you can call it, because I thought about how in my warped mind, when I die, I would like to have a picture of me when I was 21 up there. Like, I want a picture of me when I thought I was in my prime and looked my best. I don't want a picture of me when I'm really old and saggy and wrinkled. At this point, I'm like trying to avoid that at all costs, and I know it's coming. And it just made me laugh, because some of the people that I've loved the longest in my life are a lot older than me. And I don't ever look at them wishing that they look like they were 21. It wouldn't even make sense if they looked like they were 21. It would probably freak me out and make me scream and run in the other direction. It doesn't make me love them any more, any less, because they look their age. I thought about my grandmother and how I don't remember her as a young woman. I only remember her as an elderly woman. And when I look at that photo of her as an elderly woman in all her glory, I miss her and love her and think she's so beautiful. And yet, I still strive to look like I'm 21, and I'm not, and I'm never going to be again. I mean, in full disclosure, putting yourself on YouTube is not the easiest thing because you're going to look a certain way, of course, and most of us don't really want to look that way. So why am I talking about all this? It's because when I go to paint faces, I really, really enjoy painting these faces that show the life and experiences of the person. They're just so interesting and so full of story without even having to tell you story. The woman in this painting, I couldn't even speak her language. She spoke a little bit of broken English. Her husband could speak fairly good English, so he talked to me a little bit. And she was always kind of hanging out there and smiling. And over the run of the day, she was more than willing for me to take her photo. I used to look at her from across the field and think about the life that she had lived. She had always lived in this little tiny isolated village, but she had already lived the majority of her life, and I'm sure life when she was a kid was very different than it even was there now. So I wondered about her stories. In some way, I didn't even really need to hear them. She was just so beautiful. So I was very inspired to paint her. Interesting thing with this painting, I'm quite happy with it and I really like it. I don't feel that I captured her in this painting. I don't feel that I captured her spirit, but I was still inspired by her when I painted it. I love how the color, the pops of color that come out at the end kind of speak to that moment that I had with her. I am thinking that I might want to paint her again and paint her a little differently. And that's just sometimes how it goes. And I don't mind that at all. So I'm talking about a woman that I met when I was in Kenya and her experiences of living in an isolated African village and how that shaped her face and the uniqueness of her features. But I'll just change that a little bit and go back to my origins, which are in Newfoundland. I grew up by the ocean. My dad was a fisherman and our whole village was a fishing village, really. There was this poem that my sister had to memorize when she was in high school, and I remember her going around talking about this poem, probably for endless days while she learned it. And it became a poem that our whole family has always remembered. As I look at this woman's face from Kenya, I think about this poem and how our experiences shape us both on the inside and on the outside. This poem is called Erosion by E.J. Pratt. It took the sea 1,000 years to trace the granite features of this cliff in crag and scarp and base. It took the sea an hour one night, an hour of storm to place the sculpture of these granite seams upon a woman's face.